Narendra Modi was recently re-elected to 5 more years as India's Prime Minister. At the end of this term, he will be the second longest tenured leader in the country's history. And looking around the United Nations, he is one of the few current political leaders with a chance at historical significance. Yet, he's not an aristocrat that was bred to sit at the world's most elite tables. He has humble origins as the son of a tea seller in Gujarat. His climb to India's prime minister defies conventional wisdom about leadership in complex democracies, where the rich and powerful usually dominate. In this video, we'll uncover how his patriotism helped to make India the 5th largest economy in the world and a potential global superpower of the future. Now, putting together this video was relatively easy because there's a ton of footage of Narendra Modi. But that's not always the case in some of our other videos. It can be hard to find the B-roll we need, or it can be difficult to just stare at a blank canvas and turn it into a final product. One tool that can help is InVideo AI. InVideo just did their second major upgrade, and the suite of tools is incredibly powerful. InVideo AI version 3 enables you to express your ideas in the form of stunning videos, the kind you've always wanted to create, the kind you'd be excited to share with your peers, in the most seamless, intuitive way possible. It's like having the power of a director in your hands. Create a 30-second ad for YouTube about Coca-Cola, but strawberry flavored. Use wide cinematic shots and close-ups of the product from time to time. But that's just the beginning. You can change any part of the video. You can do something like add my voice. Unlike traditional video tools with steep learning curves that only solve for parts of your video creation process, InVideo is the creative partner that removes all friction and lets you focus entirely on your vision and your idea. Now, you can try InVideo AI for free, but I actually recommend you check out their generative plan. It gives you all the generative AI capabilities for just $96 a month. It's the one I have, and it gives you the most bang for your buck with 15 generative minutes. This will save you hundreds of dollars that you would otherwise spend on editing, animating, and other production costs. And if you're already an InVideo customer, you can just go to the add-on section and buy more generative minutes. Now back to the video. Modi's rise to power is linked to an organization that has shaped India's politics for decades. The Rashtriya Swayamsaveksong, India's largest and most powerful Hindu organization, forged Modi's nationalist ideology and set the stage for his political rise. Modi's connection to the organization began around the age of 8, growing up in Vadnagar in northwestern India. He developed a strong dislike for the ruling Congress party at the time as a result of hanging around a political office near his father's tea stall. The RSS, founded in 1925, advocates the concept of Hindutva, a form of Hindu nationalism that seeks to define Indian culture in terms of Hindu values. It was an RSS member that was responsible for the murder of Mahatma Gandhi over his reconciliation of the differences between Indian Hindus and Indian Muslims. This ideology, which Modi embraced and later incorporated into his political identity, emphasizes the primacy of Hindu traditions and culture in Indian society. But Modi got more than just an ideological framework from the RSS. He also got a vast network of supporters and a platform from which to launch his political ambitions. The organization's grassroots presence across India provided Modi with a ready-made support base and a machine for mobilizing voters. This network, combined with Modi's charisma and political acumen, created a formidable force in Indian politics. And the influence of the RSS on Modi's government has been the subject of intense debate. Supporters argue that it has installed a sense of cultural pride and national unity. Critics, however, contend that it has led to policies that favor the Hindu majority at the expense of India's minority communities. This tension between cultural nationalism and secular democracy is the central theme when evaluating Modi's leadership. While it provided him with a strong ideological foundation and a vast support network, it has also made him a polarizing figure. But Modi's success in leveraging this relationship while simultaneously portraying himself as a modernizing force has been the key to his political rise. While Modi's nationalist ideology set his political identity, it was his economic policies that truly set him apart. Modi's time as the chief minister of Gujarat from 2001 to 2014 marked a period of remarkable economic growth for the state. Under his leadership, Gujarat's economy grew at an average annual rate of 10%, outpacing the national growth average. One of the key factors behind Gujarat's economic success was Modi's focus on agricultural reform, particularly in the cotton industry. During his tenure, Gujarat became India's largest producer of genetically modified cotton, a shift that significantly boosted the state's agricultural output and farmer incomes. Modi's governance style in Gujarat was characterized by a strong emphasis on reducing corruption and improving administrative efficiency to attract foreign investment and capital to the state. Infrastructure development was another crucial aspect of Modi's economic strategy. His administration prioritized improvements in power supply and rural electrification that had previously hindered economic productivity. He also held vibrant Gujarat summits, landing over $75 billion worth of investment deals, highlighting the state's growing appeal to industrialists. The economic success of Modi's leadership cannot be discussed without also acknowledging the 2002 Gujarat riots. These clashes resulted in the deaths of over 1,000 people, primarily Muslims, and significantly impacted Modi's image both domestically and internationally. However, Modi managed to politically leverage the situation by framing the narrative around Hindu pride and stability, a strategy that would continue to shape his political career. As Modi's reputation as an economic reformer grew, it overshadowed the controversies surrounding the riots. His success in turning Gujarat into a model of economic growth made him an increasingly attractive candidate for national leadership within the Bharatiya Janata Party, also known as the BJP. The Gujarat model of development became a central pillar of Modi's political brand, promising to bring the same economic growth to a national scale. Modi's economic policies laid the foundation for his rise, but his mastery of digital communication cemented his power. Modi has effectively leveraged social media to create a direct line of communication with the Indian populace, bypassing traditional media channels and reshaping the political landscape. His rise has coincided with India's digital transformation. As we discussed in a previous video about the Jio Telecom network, over 800 million Indians have come online in the last decade, and Modi can communicate directly with most of them. He has successfully combined elements of a strongman leader with those of a tech-savvy reformer, appealing to both traditional and modern sensibilities. This dual persona has allowed Modi to maintain a strong connection with voters across diverse demographic groups, and he uses these platforms to create a sense of personal connection. With over 103 million followers on X, Modi has become one of the most followed politicians globally, outpacing many Western leaders. This massive following gives Modi an unparalleled platform to shape public opinion and control his narrative. At the heart of Modi's economic agenda is the Goods and Services Tax, a landmark reform aimed at simplifying India's complex tax structure. The GST promised to create a unified national market, boost economic growth, and increase tax compliance. However, when the first GST returns were filed, the system crashed, highlighting the technical hurdles in rolling out such a massive reform. Despite the initial setbacks, the GST has been credited with massively improving the ease of doing business in India. Another cornerstone of Modi's economic strategy is the Make in India initiative, designed to transform India into a global manufacturing hub. But perhaps the most controversial economic decision of Modi's tenure was the unexpected demonetization in November of 2016. In a surprise move, Modi declared that 86% of India's currency would be withdrawn from circulation overnight to combat corruption, tackle black money, and push India towards a digital economy. The immediate aftermath was chaotic. Approximately 1.5 million people lost their jobs, and India's GDP took a 1% hit. While supporters argue that demonetization was a necessary shock to the system, detractors view it as a poorly executed policy that disproportionately affected small businesses and the informal sector. And beyond economic reforms, Modi's governance has been marked by a more assertive form of Hindu nationalism. This ideological stance has manifested in policies like the Citizenship Amendment Act, which provides a pathway to citizenship for non-Muslims from neighboring countries. The CAA, along with the proposed National Register of Citizens, sparked widespread protests and riots across India. The fear is that this opens the door for more religious discrimination across India. And that's been an ongoing part of the Indian story. Growing inequality has been a source of resentment, particularly among lower castes. The opposition has seized upon this discontent, framing Modi's governance as a conspiracy against lower castes and proposing caste-based redistribution as a counter to the BJP's Hindu nationalism. Despite these controversies, Modi maintains one of the highest approval ratings of any national leader, granting him an extremely solid base of support. Modi's assertive leadership has redefined India's domestic landscape, but his impact extends far beyond India's borders. Under Modi's leadership, India has undergone a significant transformation in its approach to foreign policy. The country has begun to move away from its traditional, non-aligned stance, adopting a more neutral and self-interested approach to international relations. This shift has been characterized by a focus on strategic partnerships and a willingness to assert India's interests on the global stage. One of the most notable aspects of Modi's foreign policy has been the strengthening of ties with the United States and its allies. This strategic alignment is largely seen as a response to China's growing influence in the region. India has become an increasingly important partner of the Indo-Pacific strategy, participating in multilateral forums such as the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue with the US, Japan, and Australia. Despite being a member of the BRICS with China, Modi has had to navigate multiple territorial disputes with its increasingly aggressive neighbor. Modi's administration has also made substantial efforts to elevate India's economic profile on the world stage. This economic rise has been accompanied by a push for greater foreign investment and international partnerships. The administration has also tripled transport spending as a share of GDP, investing heavily in roads, railways, and ports. These infrastructure improvements not only boost domestic economic growth, but also enhance India's capacity for international trade and connectivity. But Modi's pragmatism is probably best exemplified by his response to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Despite pressure from Western allies, India has maintained its strategic partnership with Russia, particularly in the energy sector. As a result, India has gotten access to relatively cheaper energy, while Western allies can't do much besides complain. In 2024, India completed the largest democratic election in world history. Over 970 million people cast their ballots. Opposition parties to Modi's BJP were leveraging caste dynamics to counter Modi's narrative, framing it as a party primarily representing upper castes. And there was no controversy. The man elected to the highest seat of Indian politics was clear. Narendra Modi's journey from tea seller to prime minister epitomizes modern India's complexities. His economic pragmatism and Hindu nationalism have reshaped the nation's political landscape, challenging long-held assumptions about leadership in diverse democracies. Much like Theodore Roosevelt did for the United States, Modi is poised to unleash a high-potential economy, establish new institutions, and expand his nation's geopolitical power outwards. As most of the world's largest economies navigate enormous debt loads, dwindling populations, and the potential for war, India sits poised to continue rising. Watch this graph closely over the next decade. When it goes up by 50%, it will represent the lives of over 1 billion people improving dramatically. And it will be because of the foundation that Modi has built for his country. Thanks for watching. Check out our video on the most important founder of the United States.